Mineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Esselatu vesselamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecma'in. Well, now he's sitting far away from me. Now I've started to have a hesitation.
Why?
You are going to help me.
You think?
Actually, what happens is that I picked this as a sort of easy topic, cultivating inner peace. Oh, everywhere you can find information. But it was full of information. Risale-i was full of this. Wherever I looked at, there's inner peace matter appears. I realized that we have got to read the whole Risale to understand the topic. But at least there's a principle that says in Risale, but if you can't obtain one thing in its entirety, then you get as much as you can, partially. You don't abandon the partial benefit from it. So what I try to do, inshallah, this is a good request for dua from you. I had some health issues, still I'm having. Within this, I try to prepare this collection from Risale-i so that we can study them together.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recover you speedily, inshallah ta'ala. Even though you have some health problem, but you have inner peace, huh?
Yes, definitely, because we know the source of the health problems, so we are in submission to it, so accept it in full, welcome it. So I would like to start with the inner. I said inner state is that either at individual level or in community level, at town level, country level, what people, the status of their inner being is the matter here. I will try to put some examples from Risale-i for each as we go along with this talk. What we see here along the line of history, Muslim minds and hearts have been poisoned by various factors like skepticism in belief matters, misguidance from the surrounding, from various sources that may come from materialism, particularly causality. Causality took very big impact on communities and individuals. Love of this world is undescribably become common. Secularist modernity, westernization. If I keep naming them, I think we can continue for 1 hour. What sort of illnesses we have in the community and at individual lives. All these intoxications and misguidance arising from teachings of modern science is a sort of a cream on the top. All the education system is secularized, and just in the secular system, unbelief is injected into the brains constantly. Apparently, the governments are not taking full measures against these extreme problematic areas. Some remedial actions, apparently there are some remedial actions, but they are not sufficient to kill the problem. So the damage of individuals in Muslim, so-called Muslim countries, maybe, I'm not sure, I can't make a full comparison because I don't know here as much as Western world. Maybe here it is more. One can study, for example, my children went through a Catholic school, primary school. When they came out of the year 5, the year 7, they had no habit of swearing. So, can we achieve the same here? I'm not sure. So I don't want to establish full comparison, but the extent of damage is huge. Today, a great majority of Muslims are overwhelmed by emotions, love of this this world, and so they prefer as Risale-i says, prefer an ounce of present pleasure to tons of future joy of the hereafter in Jannah. So it is, it falls in the category of استعوذ بالله يستحبون الحياة الدنيا إلى الآخرة. ولا الآخرة. على الآخرة. They say, in general, these are the statements from Risale-i, and it 100, almost 100 years ago, Risale-i describes today's problems. What they say as an excuse, we want to experience all the pleasures and joys of life, and to make others experience them. What they say, don't interfere with us. Live your life. It's a secular state. We want to enjoy our lives, so don't interfere with our lives. Also they continue saying, at least we can live. If someone goes and tells them that what you are trying to achieve is not a joy, it's a pain, because whatever you call as a joyful experience ends up with grievous pain, then what they say, at least we can live like animals, passing our lives in pleasure and enjoyment, and by indulging in amusement and dissipation, not thinking about these difficult matters. I think this is also common. When I come here, I live in Geyve. I stay in Geyve, in an estate where approximately 10,000 people live. I try to make friends from my surroundings. What I find is that your religion is yours, my life is mine. So don't try to impose things. So that they have already built brick walls between so-called religious people who are trying to spread Islam and truths of belief and themselves. So that brick wall is so solid that you can't break through. So you may think that I'm very on the pessimistic side, but against all these, the efforts in developing corrective actions and implementing them is so slim and weak. That is very worrying. The outcome is that what they do is they destroy their lives so badly that they can't enjoy the world, the materialistic life themselves, because the pain and torment they receive out of this is much more than the joy they may have right at the beginning of it. Because there's always this fear of death. In the Western countries, that fear of death is so manifested that people try to hide the graveyards with 2.5 meter high walls. So wherever you go, graveyards are surrounded by this high wall so that people will not notice people are dying, and they will one day they will also die. So it is, and also you can't sell a house overlooking a graveyard. That's very interesting, without knowing, we bought a madrasa in London overlooking the graveyard. So it was just good coincidence. It's not coincidence, but it's
so it was cheap, right? It was cheap, right?
I think it was affordable. Risale-i is very rich in.
You have to tell them to next slide.
So next point. The Risale-i is very rich in describing the diagnostic of the problems and also providing the cure. One can look at the rays, for example, 15th ray. there Ustad described this. I just put some of them on this slide. I share this with you. Unbelief deviates from the straight path, and through excess and deficiency transforms the intelligence into an instrument of torture, amazing pains. It casts humanity down to a degree lower than the animals. Unbelievers see the universe as a place of universal mourning and as the slaughterhouse of living creatures toppling over in death, and as exceedingly ugly and confused, thus causing their consciousness to suffer a perpetual hell in this world and making themselves deserving of everlasting torment in the next. Unbelief and misguidance show a universe consisting wholly of series of terrible enemies. Thousands of different enemies from the solar system to tubercular bacteria are attacking unfortunate humanity with the hands of blind force, aimless chance, and deaf nature. The last experience of human race was this COVID-19, for example. A small, tiny, minute creature, not visible by eye, can threaten the lives, human race, feared from it completely and stayed indoors for two years. By presenting to man's comprehensive disposition and his endless needs and infinite desires, continuous fear, pain, and anxiety, unbelief, and misguidance are forms of hell. It puts those who follow it into a sort of hell while still in this world. So, the circumstances in this lack of faith, lack of belief, or unbelief, uncertainty in belief, is so tormenting that not knowing what's going to happen to you after death, even before getting there, the worries of life, even fearing from a little minute bacteria, on the top of this, endless needs and desires, not being able to obtain what they desire, and threatening aspects of this world, so many of them, countless, affect the individual's life so much that their current pleasure of life is destroyed completely. There are certain countries in Europe, like Sweden, the committing suicide is very common. So the society is breaking down, and social life is almost social life is very disorderly. Individualist attitude is dominating. Everyone lives their own life. Is it different here? I think Muslim nations are also following the footsteps of Western lifestyle and just progressing along the same line, because the sickness is the same. Either weakness of belief or unbelief dominating in individuals' lives. By presenting to all science and human progress outside religion and belief, administer injections to deaden the senses, so that through drunkenness and dissipation, those grievous fears may be temporarily forgotten. So, the first family I stayed with in England, when I got that 40 years ago, soon after they come into the house, they can't really sit steady. Either they just put the new music on or television on or busy themselves with something. Because if they sit and do nothing, they start human nature. It dictates that you start thinking. You can't stop brain functioning. So as they start thinking, they start worrying about life and difficult. All this, what we have been reading, becomes the cause of worry and pain in their lives. Don't we have the same? The more awareness we have about the truth of Quran through the Risale-i, the lesser of this we have. But you can't say that we have eradicated all these problems. Okay, we are Nurja now, we are free from all this. No, I think this is a common illness everywhere. But inshallah, we are affected the least because through the understanding of the Risale-i and putting this into action in our lives, practicing it. So here it's talking about the all sciences advising a sort of injection of sort of gafta or to keep the feelings quiet about their response to the to all these negative things. Particularly now the internet and other digital environments are keeping busy. But when we see look at the lives of children or youth, we see that the dependence on the screen, their eyes can't take their eyes from the screen and all the time busying themselves with network information coming from the internet, whether it is beneficial or not. Through this, I think people have lost a lot of good habits like reading books and doing beneficial things. So this type of negative civilization pushed man into wastefulness of their time, first of all, because the most valuable thing in one's life is their time. Life, you can't buy time, but what we can see in young people's life is wastefulness of their youth very easily, very comfortably, without even thinking about it, and they can sit in front of their computer and spend hours, days. This is a common illness in almost every family here in Turkey. Is that right? I mean, do you have any opposition to this? Or perhaps you are confirming, therefore you are not saying anything about this.
Global issue, no need Turkey.
So
this is a global issue.
Global issue, exactly.
Of this time.
So the Ustad describes a problem that became now widespread. Whereas belief ensures a sort of paradise in believer's life and transforms death into a release from duty, while unbelief makes this world into a sort of hell, destroys true human happiness, and reduces death to eternal nothingness. So if we visit family lives, if they didn't say no to us, we can just travel into their homes and watch what they are doing. Perhaps these writings are just exact statement of their status. Ustad says everyone's home is a small world for him, and even a small paradise. If belief in the hereafter is not at the basis of the happiness of that home, the members of the family will suffer anguish and anxiety to the extent of their compassion, love, and attachment. Their paradise will either turn into hell or it will numb their minds with amusement and dissipation. So this is manifested so widely now. Many families are like 5 people living together, flat sharing. They don't talk to each other. They have their own plans, individuals. So the family structure is broken down in many families, but it becomes like a sort of small group of people living together. Under that circumstances, people look like this, like the ostrich, who sees the hunter but can neither fly nor escape, and sticks its head in the sand so as not to be seen. They plunge their heads into heedlessness, so that death, decline, and separation do not spot them. They find a way out by temporarily blocking out their feelings in lunatic fashion. So there are also cartoons. Mother, father, children sit together in the living room. They are all looking at their phones. So it is what they say. This is the modern family. But they seem to accept this, like ostrich. So assume that it's not so, or like hunter could be pains of this life or death, as if they are not aware of this, and what they are doing is quite normal. They behave in an ostrich manner. Because, for example, the mother trembles constantly at seeing her children, for whom he should sacrifice her soul, exposed to dangers, while the children all the time feel sorrow and fear at being unable to save their father and brother from unceasing calamities. So, particularly when people reach certain age and lose their fathers, so if there is no proper belief in the hereafter and resurrection and what they can think that the most valuable person, like mother, vanished, disappeared. That imagine that psychology of that child. Likewise, the mother loses her children, and it becomes like a sort of everything. The whole world becomes very painful, full of sorrow and pain. Thus, in upheavals of this worldly life, the supposedly happy life of the family loses its happiness in many respects. And the relations and closeness in this brief life do not result in true loyalty, heartfelt sincerity, disinterested service and love. So all becomes a separation. In what we used to compare about Western world, okay, they don't look after their parents. They live it in a care house and forget about them. Actually, I spoke with one of my colleagues at my workplace. I said, okay, it was a sort of Christmas, Christmas time. I said, oh, do you visit your family? I said, yeah, very often. Yeah. How often do you visit your family? Oh, actually, he's in the. She is in the mother. She's in the care house. Every Christmas I go there. Every Christmas I go there. So that's how often this man visited his mother. What's happening here now? We are not we are trying to compete with Europe now. There was one person wanted to find a care house in a local town in central Anatolia, and they found one. So this means even in a small town there's a care house.
I checked the stats and the numbers are quadrupled now.
So people don't want to look after their mothers, fathers, and they want to enjoy their lives. So the instruction is very extensive. So this is telling us, in fact, as Jamaat al-Nur, okay, we have got to develop very planned, systematic activities for the jobs nobody is doing. Because the remedy, the cure is in Risale-i, and people are not reading Risale-i. How can we establish this link between the people and the Risale-i? How can we establish this in a continuous, in a healthy way, and that connection will be maintained continuously? So this requires much better planning and using sciences. When we try to establish a business, we go and consult with all these what do they call it, financial advisors and all whoever is doing that kind of job, consult with that person and do cost and benefit analysis, customer analysis, etc., etc. Then we develop a business model, and then okay, let's open this shop and do this. When it comes to our hizmet, when it comes to our activities and services to introduce Risale-i to other people, we tend to follow very classical methods. But when we do our business, we are very professional. I think that difference puts us backward, and all these negative things are developing on the highway at high speed. We are watching it. So I use this platform as a sort of complaint, opportunity to complain to I take you, all of you, as my RV, and as a person who came from 3,000 miles away, and I can tell you at least my observations here, it may be hurting or sort of what's going on. You come from so far criticizing us. No, it's not criticism, it's a pain, it's a disturbance, it is inside.
But we want to reach peace, inner peace.
Inner peace, but the inner peace is being destroyed. There's the last castle left behind is the Risale-i. Unless we invite people into this castle and make them protected from the assails of materialism, all this capitalism, or whatever comes, all the destructive elements of worldly life, then we need to keep that castle available and accessible to everybody. So at least I do my part this much. If I were to be included in your mashwara, then I have more to say perhaps, but I think you are also sharing the same considerations, same feelings. So the family family structure is breaking up in Turkey. What happens to town life and country life is not very different. Towns are also households of their inhabitants, families and individuals. If belief in the hereafter does not govern among the members of that large family, vices like malice, self-interest, false pretenses, selfishness, artificiality, hypocrisy, bribery, and deception will dominate, displacing sincerity, cordiality, virtue, zeal, self-sacrifice, seeking God's pleasure, and the reward of the hereafter, which are bases of good conduct and morality. So, while we are gaining all this self-interest, selfishness, artificiality, hypocrisy, etc., we are losing all these good qualities at the expense of this, as an expense of this. Anarchy and savagery will govern under the superficial order, and humanity poisoning the life of the town. The children will become troublemakers. The youth will take to drink. The strong will embark on oppression, and the elderly start to weep. So this is happening now. It's not going to. It's that children will, and now are. By analogy, the country is also a household, and the fatherland, and the home of national family. If belief in the hereafter rules in these broad homes, true respect, earnest compassion, disinterested love, mutual assistance, honest service, and social relations, unhypocritical charity, virtue, honest service, and social relations, hypocritical charity, repeat that, and excellence will all start to develop. So for this, the entire Risale-i will have to be on shelves or in hands of individuals, and open the this will open the benefit of curing their spiritual diseases that inflicted by modernity and materialistic life. So, in fact, for this, I think what we need to establish is the same in our lives at higher level, so that we can demonstrate how it is done. We have the same in this, but probably this much, and use that medicine on ourselves first, and demonstrate to the community that what sort of difference it makes, and establish that trust. Yes, Risale-i wherever it goes, it cures the disease, a social disorder, and that understanding will give courage to other people to use this medicine. Currently, there are various barriers in spread of Risale-i. This could be political, social, or other various reasons, not to count here. But these are not brick walls. These can be cleared, and Risale-i can be made accessible with ease and comfort.
John,
So,
may I ask a question?
of course.
You just read Modest Greatness. I think, which is in the original version, Enanis Büyüklük. Enanis Büyüklük. Modest Greatness. How we can understand this thing? Modest Greatness. The last role, I think. Modest Greatness.
Modest greatness. Not modest greatness, modest greatness. This is one of the qualities we are to display, aren't we? Right. I don't know, it is open to your comments as well.
If we look with our first looking, it's a little bit, how can I say, hard to understand. Modest. Modest greatness. Anyway.
I don't check the Turkish version of this.
He's trying to say they are opposites. Being modest and being great, they are opposites. How do we understand how to be merge them?
You don't take pride in the greatness.
In the Lama Art, Usta says the measure of greatness is smallness, whereas the measure of smallness is greatness. To appear, trying to appear great, makes one small. And being servant under the garb of servanthood, not displaying or not showing of one's perfections is greatness. That's what I was.
So, in that case, what can we say that if we become accessible, everyone can reach and can have the courage or belief that they can come and speak with us, that modest greatness is there. Humble as well as highly valuable.
Accessible.
At the same time, accessible. So each individual who benefits from Risale-i is like a lamppost, humbly staying there, firm, but surrounding is illuminated. I don't know, it can be thought of like this.
Can I say something? Yeah. I think the Risale-i, for certain scholars or for certain leaders, there are certain names which are the greatest names. Then for Risale-i, as far as we know, two names are the dominant. One is Rahim and the other is Hakim, Hikmah. Then in Risale-i service, Hikmah and Shafaqah, compassion or tenderness towards the others. Then if we are complaining about the youth, for example, but if we show them tenderness, compassion towards them, they can be closer to us. Then by that way we can open some gates towards hakika, towards truth, by that way, as you are trying to explain. If we are closer to youth, one of the topic in our mashwara recently held, that was one of the topic towards youth. How should make our attitude? Youth is changing. Yes, there are huge changes. But we have to change ourselves as well.
Exactly.
It's not their fault. They are right, but we have to change ourselves. We have to show attitude towards them with shafaqah, with compassion. We must be so friendly. By that way, we can gain their heart.
If you consider every personally how we were introduced to Risale-i Nur, there was someone who really showed very good attitude and friendship and sacrificial friendship. Always they benefited us in a way that we said, okay, this man really is really good. First, we establish a good friendship with that person. Then through that, most of us like this, through that we learn Risale-i Nur. So majority of people are following this. There are only a minority who finds a book, oh, this is really good book, and studies the book, and then on his own discovers Risale-i Nur. It is rare, but the other way, the Risale-i Nur is spread through individuals' efforts, their sacrifice, their good attitude, friendship, offering their friendship to other people, etc. Is the way of progress mostly. I think that you are also saying the same.
Usta says that those who claim scholarship or those who act superior over the others are sabi mutashayikh. It's like a sheikh, a child sheikh, trying to appear in a high stature, high position. So keeping the level like evenly or in the same level with our addressees, so that they will not feel any secret jealousy or competition. If the levels are the difference between level is too high, there will be secret competition, secret jealousy, just like in the way of the tariqa, and their sheikh is the point of focus. Apparently everybody admires him, but there are secret enmity, secret like rivalry, and maybe unconscious hatred. So they can't express it, but extreme love for the sheikh can be unconsciously extreme hatred. So he cannot express it, so he's covering it under the cover of extreme admiration. So that's why Ustaz says that exaggeration can be indirect criticism. Because there's an unconscious motive also inside if somebody is too much exaggerated. So, like keeping the level humble and that we can be accessible to everyone. No need to appear too scholarly or too perfect or something.
One of the brothers earlier was saying that the Ustad thought of all these torments and difficult life he went through. The reason why he was so much tortured by local authorities, governors, etc., and also difficulties he faced in life, more than 20 times poisoned, etc. It's he's always sacrificing. No, by this, he demonstrates that he is not expecting any benefit out of this. As a result, if other people look at this, oh, he's not asking for any favors or benefit from us. He's sincere. That sincerity becomes very obvious and apparent, and people then come and take Risale-i Nur because Risale-i Nur is not a tool used for any other purpose. It's only for the sake of Allah, and other than this, there is no attachment to it.
Ustaz said that attention given to someone can be a punishment, divine punishment. That it is the result of insincerity. You are putting yourself forward, you become point of attention. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you attention because you need it. Maybe you are not aware but that you need it. Your attention that you receive is a punishment, is not a reward actually. So if you think that, we will avoid public attention, spotlight.
So how does Risale-i Nur offers? What's the Risale-i Nur offering, or what's the remedy offered in Risale-i Nur for all these illnesses? In the Risale-i Nur, attaining to inner peace is a process of gaining verified knowledge, first increasing the perception of first Tawheed, belief and knowledge of Allah, with great emphasis on knowing the names of Allah. Second, nubuwwat, prophethood, understanding prophethood. Then resurrection, hashr, and adl, establishing true justice. This is mainly in the hereafter, but also partially manifesting in this world. So the whole Ustad names these Tawheed, Nubuwwat, Hashr and Adl together in one place as the means to achieve verified knowledge of belief. Through this, what is supposed to happen, knowing Allah fully with His names, it should lead to trusting Him. Trust what He does. Second, discover of oneself I-ness, ana, as Ana Risale describes. So through this proper, correct usage of this hypothetical I, we achieve the knowledge of names of Allah, find out as Ana Risale describes, these Ana is a tool, a hypothetical tool, which on its own it has got no existence, but by it's a tool to understand limitless manifestation of Asma, the names of Allah. And so as we know Allah more, this leads us to our complete submission, because you just take Adl, Isma Adl, then if he is just everywhere, establishing justice everywhere, no matter what happens, then you trust Allah. What we see now in say Gaza, what they say in common, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, one sentence, the other is Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. That we keep hearing two sentences. So they have been exposed to these calamities so often that the calamities taught them, trained them to surrender themselves to Allah, complete submission to Him, that even death doesn't stop, death, the threatening of death doesn't mean anything to them. It is other than it is a means to join Allah, return to Allah. So when we look at ourselves, our communities, people surrounding us, what we see, connection to this world so strongly, as you know, we don't see these qualities. So this means that we haven't discovered ourselves, we haven't used that I to know Allah properly. So that's the second step to establish the knowledge of Allah in our feelings, faculties, from intellect to inner faculties, and live a life under the influence of these knowledge. Then in that case, then the Sahaba used to, after Sahaba there is Tabi'in. Tabi'in used to say to Tabi'in, those who follow, who come after Tabi'in, that if you saw Sahaba, you would call them crazy. And if Sahaba saw your lifestyle, they would call it, you're mad. How come? Are you Muslim? So that kind of separation is due to Sahaba having the knowledge of the names of Allah so decisively, so in detail, and they develop themselves in it, in all these, and establish complete submission. But those people, those generation who come afterward, lost all these qualities gradually. Now, at the last age, before the Yawm al-Qiyamah, Risale-i is trying to re-establish this again. You know, Sahaba-like understanding of Allah, Sahaba-like understanding of Asma al-Husna, and establishing firm and true belief, verified belief. Without this, the life is like, you know, crazy life, as the Sahaba describe. So third one is recognize that I have absolute importance, absolute poverty, absolute weakness, most needy and wanting for sustenance and compassion. So if I realize that truly in myself, what happens then? As a result, I discover who can help me. Who can help me? I'm so weak. absolutely weak, absolutely important, absolute I'm in absolute poverty, then who can help me? You know, when we face a severe illness, we search for doctors. You know, find a doctor who can cure me. So our spiritual illnesses are these. You know, not knowing that we have absolute poverty, not knowing that we have absolute weakness. This works along with Anna, actually, illness. So it is a sort of combination in one's life. So once we discover our weak points, then we seek for remedies. Then we discover that and know that there is a compassionate sustainer, and we need to seek refuge in His mercy and rely on His absolute power. Then we find a solution. So if these three processes are put together and worked out well, then what we have, we place our trust in Allah, and this yields automatically, you know, without us, we feel it, you know, inner peace. So I just put a sort of graphical display of it. What's this journey to achieve inner peace? So the same words, perhaps, acquire knowledge of Allah, prophethood, resurrection, and true justice, and this code takes us to gaining verified belief, hakiki iman, and then discovering nature of I and using it properly leads to comprehension of Allah's names, talim asma, and the third is recognizing that I'm the poor, important, helpless, needy, and weak, and then we find Allah who only Allah who subhanahu wa ta'ala who can help us. So we can seek refuge at His court of at the court of absolute powerful one. So the placing trust in Allah is described by Bediüzzaman in a journey. Bediüzzaman with Abdul Majid was traveling to Europe for a visit. At that time they traveled on a train. There were some secularly educated teachers accompanying him. And then they asked a question, is religious zeal or nationalistic zeal is important? Then Bediüzzaman tried to explain to them religious zeal is the essential nationalistic zeal. Anyway, in describing this, the train reached a tunnel, they traveled inside and emerged. They were looking outside, they saw a little child at the age of 6, 7 stood up 1 meter away from the railway. He said to them, your answer is with this child. He stands 1 meter away from the railway without any fear, because he knows that this train is under control, and it is running according to a system. That system is trustworthy, and he can trust that system, and therefore he doesn't need to take one step behind, because the train is not going to harm him. So because of his trust in the system of train running and the mechanistic system of it as well, he fearlessly stood up next to the railway. The train passed and he was still there. He said, now you go back to a few centuries before and bring Rustam Irani and Hercules of Yunani, and then you put them in the same place, and you would find that as the train gets out of the tunnel they will consider that, oh, it's a monster turned up, and they will start running kilometers away with fear of that monster, because they don't know that the train is in control of a mechanist or driver, and it is bound to a system fully controlled. So between a true believer and disbeliever, there is such difference. The true believer understands that whatever is happening is happening with control and power and knowledge of its creator. And this creator, whatever he does, he's doing it in the most appropriate and best manner and style and the way. So there is no worry about it one could have in creation. So placing trust in Allah results in inner peace. No, I don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. If you build a very strong house and you know what sort of structure it is, earthquake happens, you don't run out, because you know that this building is not going to collapse that kind of earthquake. So your knowledge of that building structure and its reliability and its strength against resistance against earthquake makes you stay inside. Like we live on the earth. Earth is traveling at the speed of 30 kilometers per second, but we know that it follows an order. It has got an orbit. It goes on at a certain speed. It doesn't apply brakes. Imagine that the Earth applies brakes and the whole ocean starts shaking, and the Earth becomes unbelievable place. So like this, the knowledge brings trust in Allah. True knowledge brings trust in Allah, and that yields inner peace. Next one. Actually, we read some part of this in I think we read 23rd word. The 23rd word, from beginning to end, it talks about inner peace. Just as an example, I don't know if I might the time limitation here. How are we with time?
Whole night.
No, don't say that. 23rd word is remedy for this inner peace. What is preventing us from having inner peace? There, Ustad says, belief is both light and strength. Yes, one who acquires true belief may challenge the whole universe and be saved from the pressures of events in accordance with the strength of his belief. Saying, I place my trust in Allah. He travels through the mountainous waves of events in the ship of life in complete safety. He entrusts all his burdens to the hand of power of the absolute powerful one. Voyages through the world in ease, then takes his rest in the intermediate realm. Later he may fly up to paradise in order to enter eternal happiness. Otherwise, if he does not rely on Allah, rather than flying, the burdens of the world will drag him down to the lowest of the low. That is to say, belief necessitates affirmation of divine unity. Affirmation of divine unity necessitates submission of Allah. Submission to Allah necessitates reliance on Allah. And reliance on Allah necessarily leads to happiness in this world and the next. But do not misunderstand this. Reliance on Allah is not to reject causes altogether. It is rather to know that causes are a veil to the hand of power, and have recourse to them, knowing that attempting causes is a sort of active prayer, it is to seek the effects only from Almighty Allah. Recognize that the results are from Him alone, and to be thankful to Him. So there are continuous texts mentioning that someone with the burden, heavy load on his back gets on a ship, and his friends say, take your ship and put it on the floor. There's no, I want to carry, I don't trust the ship. And so that comparison, the man travels on earth and doesn't trust Allah, and he carries a very big burden, very fearful life, and he has got to think of every precautionary measures for every life-threatening event, and he has got to be prepared for every risks. How come a man can manage this? Even his body's control of the body requires maybe 1,000 different actions if we were to do it ourselves. Now we ate together, we don't know what food, what that food is there doing in our body, where it is going. We have no control of things. The only capability we have is to take the food and swallow it, that's it. Afterwards, it's in the hands of Allah. How come we don't trust Him? The Risale-i teaches us this and establishes in our hearts the full trust in Him, so we can relax. Alhamdulillah, I put my weight on the ground and I trust the ship and the captain. He's steering the ship to the Sahel-i Salamat. So this is a big release of pressure. So through this, man finds inner peace.
Let me ask a question for everyone. Is that burden necessarily only worldly burdens, or the burdens of the life, or is there any other aspects of that burden that the person feels overburdened and can feel light in other ways, like not necessarily material burden of the life, like livelihood, struggle for livelihood, or struggling with the sicknesses? Is there some other kind of burdens? That
other burdens, psychological burdens, like thinking of death. What will happen to me if the person has very weak belief or disbelief? It is annihilation. It is a void. All of a sudden you disappear. Bing, you are gone. This also Ustad says, I ask hikmah, I ask conscious, if you were to live a life, tormented life forever, or if you live a very comfortable, pleasurable life for 1 million years and disappear. Conscious said about eternity. It claimed for eternity and chose that. So the feeling of death is very, very effective in human's life. Several times, I think many of us must have experienced this with other people. Alhamdulillah, we have strong iman for hereafter and what's going to happen to us. But those who lack that is highly affected by this. Once I mentioned about death to a person, I didn't know he was suffering from cancer. He was my technician, and he went back to his room and locked himself inside and didn't come out all day. He was crying inside. I felt so sad that I caused this, that the man, he remembered that he may die out of this cancerous disease, and his life turned upside down. His name is Richard. Yes, truly. No, Richard, an unbeliever, disbeliever. Because of that lack of belief, what death is going to bring to him is unknown to him. And obviously then annihilation is what I think what he's thinking, disappearing once it happens. So this is a big issue in everyone's life with weak belief, whoever it is, it doesn't matter what nationality or where the person lives. So not only death, but also other spiritual matters. We put our trust in Allah, and for example, sometimes we see people behaving unexpectedly to us, misbehavior, disappointments, etc. And if it comes from our children, for example, then it is a very troublesome situation and sadness that causes in life. But if you trust Allah, what these people do, oh Allah, I have done my duty to bring up this child. He turned out to be like this, and again I take refuge in you, because you are the one who can turn hearts into belief, switch them the button on, and he starts believing in you and submit to you. So I will go back and seek refuge in his power and seek for solution from not from the nature, but the maker. So then I calm down. Otherwise, it's very difficult. And wife and husband situation is again unlawful things are happening. Again, unexpected things.
Yeah, in the example, the guy was on the ship, but that guy was carrying the burdens on his head, on his back.
Yeah.
Maybe the back was resembling the physical burdens, then head was resembling the spiritual, mental burdens.
Could be. If there is anyone else to add, if not, I will add one more thing. Anyone else would you like to add to burden? Different burdens, if you can think of. If not, I will just add and then maybe you can push. In the West, I think the problem with being genuine and authentic, it appears to be a big concern. Like I was reading case studies in psychotherapy. Most of the people have psychological problems because they say that I'm not myself. I feel like I'm fake. Like I have to wear masks in the office and in my family, in this place and that place. I never live the life that I am truly, authentically, willing, wishing, that rather the society or expectation of people, my job, people around me, demanding in different masks, different responsibilities, that I feel like I'm not living, I'm fake, I'm not original, I'm not authentic. So that sometimes leads to the degree of depression or meaninglessness, void, existential crisis, and eventually to the committing suicide. So it's like not making a meaning out of life, not being authentic, not having an authentic self, like knowing who you are and what you need, and how can you be you as you are. It doesn't mean being unmannerly or rude with other people, but not also being fake or pretending to be someone else in order to impress other people. It seems like a big concern there. Many people is complaining about not being themselves or being fake.
What's the solution?
Solution, as Alim pointed, like you don't have to please people. Only pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the center. Ikhlas, like
You can't
they don't have
fake.
this,
You can't fake yourself like against Allah. You can wear a mask against
yes.
Allah. Right?
It's like Ustaz said, cold soğuk tekellüf, like cold artificiality. It's like you are burdening yourself with many needs to impress other people. You have to appear strong, you have to appear confident, you have to appear proficient in your work, you have to appear as a father, strong figure in the family, on control. So it's like too much to shoulder for one person. It doesn't mean to disregard all those things and then have a relaxed life, but it's not also overburdening yourself to the extent that the things go out of control and you feel like, I cannot bear this anymore, it's unbearable. And the eventual result is that, what is this life all about? What am I doing? Why am I doing those things? Like, it will follow lack of activity, depression, loneliness, and lack of communication with other people, isolation, and eventually depression and committing suicide.
Sorry, can I say something about this authentic self business? Because in the West now it's become epidemic proportions of people wanting to be their authentic selves, but when they are their authentic selves, they are, in a sense, twisted and perverted and misguided authentic selves. It's what they believe to be their authentic self. It's the authentic self that they haven't been able to express because it's socially repressed. So this is why we have so many people now identifying as the opposite gender, or identifying as a dog, or a 50-year-old man identifying as an 8-year-old girl. I want to be my authentic self. Sorry, we don't want these authentic selves, you know. Your authentic self is something different. So I think in the context of the West, it's difficult to use this term authentic self. Repression in the context of Islam, when we are repressed from being our authentic self, is when we live in societies where we're not allowed to actually express our belief to the full and to be open and honest about it. And that can happen also in Islamic societies where we have to put on a face, right? You have to put on a face. This is why there is so much nifaq, and I think in Risale-i it says that the West is the place of kufr and the East is the place of nifaq. So the authentic self argument has a slightly different dynamic in the West. We have to be careful when we say that people, you know, they're looking for meaning as well. But because the social dynamic is so twisted, and society has become so corrupted, and meaning has become so cheapened, because actually we live in a meaningless universe. So people are searching for meaning, and yet they're being told that the universe is meaningless. So what do? They search for a self that can be different to what society is dictating. And so they look for all strange kinds of identities. This is why now there are 90 different genders, you know, because now they're creating this hyper-reality, because reality has been destroyed. The second thing, and this is the last thing I want to say, is the Prophet, I think there is a hadith where he said, I laugh as I slay. I laugh as I slay. I'm on the battlefield and he's conducting jihad and he's smiling, he's happy. Inner peace that you're talking about, and I know this is what you mean, doesn't mitigate disasters. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have calamities. It doesn't mean that we're not going to lose people, we're not going to have separations, we're not going to have sadnesses. But like the Bismillah that we talked about on the very first day, it gives you, the inner peace is the ability to engage with those difficulties and not be fazed by them, not be troubled by them, not be made anxious by them. As you said, make tawakkul. You know where they're coming from. You said you know where the source of the illness is, who the source of the illness is. And that gives you inner peace because it's not random, right? People say all the time, oh, Islam is the religion of peace. These are usually people who don't know much about Islam. Because actually, in absolute terms, Islam is not the religion of peace. You know, we have a bloody history. We have a history of jihad. We have a history of offensive jihad. And that's not a problem, right? But inner peace, what you're talking about inner peace is something very, very different to these who, you know, these borderline Muslims who say, they try to justify Islam and they try to appease the West by saying, oh yeah, Islam is a religion of peace. And then there's a terrorist attack and the non-Muslims say, oh yeah, look at the religion of peace. Right? So we have to make a distinction, I think. And I think you did it really excellently.
So stop. I think we need to link this to the earlier dars, dealing with evil. There's no created evil, and whatever Allah creates is good. Our comprehension of it, our understanding of it may be faulty. We may see it as a calamity, but it's not calamity, it's something good for me. And I sense it as a calamity by fault, inaccurately describe it. When we see the result of it, later on we realize that, oh, if this didn't happen, what I was going to be in great loss or something like it. No. So this submission doesn't mean later on expect that these unfortunate things will not happen to me. It is rather accepting what the unfortunate things as it comes from Allah, and it is for my goodness. I will be tested by these. You know, there were people in the past, if they didn't become ill, they used to say, oh, Allah has forgotten me because He's not giving me any more illness anymore. So I'm not being tested. My progression to know Him better is stopping or not continuous. So if we look at the events like this, then even we laugh at the face of so-called calamity and be happy. So the Risale-i is teaching this to us, inshallah. In conformity to what you are saying.
Well, you said calamity. Basically, the calamity is in the approach. The calamity is not the calamity.
No.
The calamity is not being able to understand the calamity and then
true aspects
becoming despairing about it.
So this is confirming that in the introduction of Damascus sermon, Khutbeh Shamiya, there are very good advice there, very good message. So only a section of it here. Thus all these material chains of events in the universe attack, threaten and frighten the unbelieving people of misguidance. They destroy their moral and spiritual strength. Whereas for the people of belief, rather than threatening and frightening them, they bring them joy and comfort, as you said, and give them hope and strength. Give them hope and strength instead of frightening. This is because the believers understand that an all-wise Maker is impelling each of these innumerable chains of events, corporeal and incorporeal railway trains, and traveling universes to carry out their functions with a perfect orderliness, regularity, wisdom, and purpose, that He is causing them to work. Not one jot are they confused in their duties, nor can they transgress against one another. The believers see that these events are displaying the perfections of His art and manifestation of His beauty in the universe. Nothing then, no science, no human progress can ensure moral strength in the face of the ghastly pains and fears that arise from people of misguidances, unbelief, nor give them any comfort. They destroy their courage, but temporarily draw a veil of neglect over them, deceiving them. So, next one, please.
Is this one?
It's on the convinced man. If not, I'll have the bottom one. So the only way of saving them from this love of world and from the danger of I don't know how to read this one. Scumbing. Is that scumbing? To it is by showing them the hell-like torments and pains they suffer even in this world. So this is the Risale-i's method to convince man that evil doing is harming him. This is the way the Risale-i takes. For at this time, due to obduracy arising from absolute unbelief, and intoxication caused by the vice and misguidance arising from science, perhaps only 1 in 10 or even 20 can be induced to give up his evil ways by providing the existence of hell and its torments after having told him Almighty God. So also start describe this in one paragraph somewhere else. Those who advise, provide good advice for people like Hoja, they talk about the hell, torment of hell. Don't do this, don't do that. All these don't do's do not affect. They affect the audience because they are what they are saying. Do not use your fitra. However, Risale-i Nur does not do that. What Risale-i Nur does, Risale-i Nur shows and demonstrates or make them realize that evil doings starts to give harm to the person while in this worldly life. Having heard this, such people are likely to say, if they are not treated correctly, like what I said by the Risale-i Nur, then what they say, God is forgiving and compassionate, and hell is a long way off. Still we are young. Towards the end, we might just go to Hajj and repent, and it might be okay, as if there's a guarantee for living for 70 years. So there's always an escape route for them in this way, and they continue in their dissipation. Their hearts and spirits are overcome by their emotions. Thus, by showing through most of its comparisons the grievous and terrible results in this world of disbelief and misguidance, the Risale-i Nur makes even the most stubborn and arrogant people feel disgust at those inauspicious, illicit pleasures leading them to repent. So, Risale-i Nur in various places, even short words are good examples. Comparative examples are provided for them, for the reader to understand that the belief and it is this belief in this world is like poison, and the result of it is very painful. Okay. I don't know how fast we were going to do this. Then I prepared a lot of slides, but I mean, I can just sum up the rest in 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I know Kolinave is expert in understanding and explaining Anna.
Only because my Anna is so problematic.
And so Anna in Risale-i Nur solved a lot of problems. The matter of explaining I-ness, I. So I took some passages from the 38th word just to, as a sort of taste of it, rather than going into the topic because it's too long. I in prophethood is the prophet is the Islamic way, is the origin of sheer worship. That's to say, the I knows itself to be a bondsman. Its essence has only an indicative meaning. Its ownership is illusory. Its reality is shadow-like. Its function being a measure and balance for the attributes and functions of its creator. Philosophy does not obey the line of religion, thus lost its way. The I as carrying no meaning other than its own. I points to itself. The I took the reins into its own hands and run into all sorts of misguidance. Because according to the principles of philosophy, power is abroad and might is right, is the norm even. The powerful one is the right one. So what happens? That big, powerful tyrant forces of this world bring their army and kill people openly, slaughter people, and nobody can say anything because the understanding is there. This materialistic philosophy. If you are strong, you are and powerful, you are right. It says all power to the strength, all power to the strongest. The winner takes all, and in power there is right. It has given moral support to tyranny, encourages despots, and urge oppressors to claim divinity. So, against this, the whole section on Anna explains that this is a hypothetical sense which has got no physical entity, and it is like a measure of Allah's names and attributes, because it has got each name and attribute has got endless manifestations. Endless things cannot be recognized, measured, quantified, but Anna takes a small ownership of this initially and says, okay, this house is mine, and the whole world is Allah manages, Allah's ownership is recognized. But later on it goes back, and the man goes back and reanalyzes that if the whole world is his, I'm also his property. So it finds the way to submit totally. So this process is described in Risale-i, and this is in fact one part of inner peace, that knowing himself, and knowing means knowing Creator, his Creator, and finding the inner peace. Otherwise, not knowing himself is a big pain. And Risale provides that a great solution everyone needs. This is like a medicine everyone takes and needs. So I was going to talk about worldwide disorder and what this philosophy, negative materialistic philosophy has caused to mankind, what sort of destructive elements that they brought to life, the products of racialism and negative nationalism, etc. But time constraint prevents me to continue. But I'm sure you have a very good awareness of all these topics, and inshallah we can do our own studies to complete this topic.
Inshallah, maybe should you share the slides with in the group?
I have already given the copy.
Okay.
Brother,
can we share it in the WhatsApp group? Maybe.
Yes. When I have the Wi-Fi connection.
Okay. No, we can also take it from there.
Yes, we can also share it from there.
We have some questions. Is it possible? Do we have time? If
you are done, Ahmet abi?
Yeah, this is the slides, and that's my thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We can have like 5 minutes. Let's have like 5 minutes questions, and then we can go for prayer.
I have a question. Actually, an observation of what you just said. You said with Anna, everyone needs it. Everyone needs the lesson. I have friends in America who've been in therapy for 30 years. I said, clearly it's not working if you've had to be in therapy for 30 years, because first of all, they don't believe in the nafs, they don't believe in ruh. They believe nafs and ruh became subsumed under this strange thing they call mind, exist at all. And they have no concept of ana. So Western psychology can never ever work. So I'm just wondering, you say everyone needs it, but how do we give the therapy of ana?
I think I know one way. Colin Abi publishes a book about this. Explains how important proves that ana is an issue for every person, and the way to recognize it, understand it, its functionality, and how it should function properly, then disseminate it with a book.
It needs to be done by a psychologist. Well, by a psychologist that is trained in Western psychology that knows the Risale-i, and I'm not a psychologist.
Every Risale-i Nur student is a
Or psychologist.
Yeah, but you're gonna be attacked and laughed out of court by other so-called psychologists. So you need to know the stuff.
Maybe it doesn't have to be through their hands at all. Maybe the way that how it works is from person to person, like in this manner.
No, I'm just thinking because Ahmet said everyone needs this lesson, and I'm thinking, and you said before, or someone said that everyone in the West has psychological problems, which is true. The search for meaning, first of all, but also deeply rooted psychological problems. And I see people who, for example, I said before, I work with drug addicts who are in rehab and trying to come off, and they are trying, the drug therapists who they themselves have been through addiction are trying to explain that there is something inside which tells you take the drug, and then there's something inside which you have to activate which says don't. They don't say like GPs, oh just don't do it. They don't say that. They try to channel it, and they're trying to talk about nafs al-ammara, and they're trying to talk about ana and about wujdan, because they all have these things, but they don't realize that they have them, or it's been taught out of them. So how do we get back to a proper spiritual physiology, where there is a nafs, there is a ruh, there is a wujdan, there is qalb. These things are needed. Without them, there's no way you can explain to seculars and unbelievers. I don't see how it's possible.
I think the publicity is very powerful. Once I was just browsing the internet, I came across at Atheistic Society of America. It's a web page. And I saw on the front page of their web page, Tabiat Risales. So what they did, they published Tabiat Risales in the Atheistic Society of America. And then they put in black-colored letter in the original text, red-colored letters in their commentary. Believe me, so stupid things they write there. Therefore, this is wrong. And another paragraph, they after a few unrational statements, and then therefore that's also wrong. But whoever reads this says that the original text is correct. So sometimes this kind of things happen. If we can use the media in the correct way and disseminate it with, bit by bit at least, what's say five psychologists get together and produce a piece of work and publish it, because this is highly needed matter. Our Tabiat Risales went to America and published an Atheistic Society's webpage. Now, this is enough evidence, I think. If we were to produce good material, they would jump on it.
But even for Muslims, for a lot of Muslims, ana is something strange. there's no other, there's no other person, there's no other work like the Risale-i that talks about these